Okay, so welcome back to the Dork Mother. Today I'm going to be talking about books that I am obsessed with that have never been made into movies or TV shows. So, starting off, this one is actually kind of a loophole because it is getting made into a movie, but it isn't a movie yet, and it's not a big budget movie. It's this website called Passionflix that takes romance novels, your 50 Shades of Grey is up here. It's not quite, they're not quite as famous as 50 Shades, and then they make them into movies. But anyways, Gabriel's Inferno. Okay, so the whole gist is it's a book by Sylvain Renard. I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce it, but okay. I've read this book. I cannot tell you how many times, and the gist is that Gabriel Emerson is a college professor who specializes in Dante, aka Dante's Inferno, which is where the name of the book comes from. But anyways, and Julianne Mitchell is one of his students, and he doesn't know because he was a druggie in the past that they have a history together, and she's actually best friends with his adopted little sister. So, kind of a similar, as far as 50 Shades of Grey is concerned compared to this, where the main guy has got a bad history, and he's got demons he has to fight, inner demons he has to fight, and that some things that lead him to believe that he can't be in a relationship, that he shouldn't be loved. But if you're looking for the sexiness that 50 Shades of Grey has, this is not the book for you. This is much more romance. Like, I don't want to give too much away that if you do decide to read it, but once they figure out who, she finally gets him to figure out who she is, it's just heart-melting romance. I mean, the guy may not think he's capable of love or being loved, but I'll tell you what, that dude knows how to spout some lines. The dude can speak Italian, obviously, because he's a Dante specialist, which is Dante Alighieri is a, Italian thing, but just be ready for heart palpitations, The professor will melt your heart, let me tell you. Okay, number 2 on my list is Beautiful Disaster, which is the first book, and it's by Jamie McGuire, but there's also a companion book, which is Walking Disaster, which is the first one. Beautiful Disaster is from the girl's point of view, and then you can go right back and get immersed back in the world again and with Walking Disaster from the guy's point of view. And you may think, why would I want to read the same story from 2 perspectives? Let me tell you, I own both of them, loved it so much, went out and bought the Walking Disaster, which is the guy's point of view, twice. Why I thought I needed it again, so I had 2 copies. 2 copies. That's how obsessed with this book that I am. Now the whole deal is it's Abby and Travis, okay? Travis Maddox, okay? Abby Abernathy. Okay, Travis is a bad boy. Okay, you think quintessential bad boy tattoos, anything, slut, man whore, whatever you want to call him, is anything and everything you could think of to refer to a bad boy. And what does that make you want to do? It makes you want him, obviously. Now Abby, she's a good girl. Abby don't play those games. Okay, but the problem is Abby's best friend and Travis's roommate are a couple. Well, Travis's cousin, whatever. Anyways, we're not going to get into that. But the whole deal is that there is a bet. Okay, Travis and Abby make a bet. Okay, and let's just say she doesn't win. Okay, and what results is her having to live in the apartment with the boys for a month. And there's some moments where you're like, damn you, Travis, I hate you. But you're so damn adorable. And the funny thing is it's a book. So you have no visual reference other than what the author describes. And you're like, oh my God, I love you, Travis Maddox. And he is an underground fighter and gets these boxing matches and underground fighting. And you're like, why would you want to do that? Why would you want to get your face beat in? But at the same time, when he does it, you're like, oh, sexy. With it, that Travis is part of, has 5 or 6 brothers. I can't remember exactly, but there's a whole entire book series that revolves around this, the Maddox brothers. And I'm not gonna tell you, I read the one with Abby and Travis over and over and over again, but I have read one of the other ones, and it got me too. Something about the way she writes those brothers, that like they're flawed, and yet, you know, it's not like your 50 Shades of Grey thing where like, or even what I talked about before with Gabriels Inferno, where the dude has money and stuff like that. You know, this is like a normal, everyday guy, other than being gorgeous with tattoos and bulging biceps, is an everyday guy you meet on the street, just happens to be good looking. It isn't rich, doesn't come from money. He's just a working class guy. And to me, I mean, I love Gabriel from my previous, you know, listing, and I love Christian and all these guys from all these rich guys, but at the same time, you know you're not going to meet a billionaire on the street. So the Maddox brothers, aka mainly Travis in this respect, are the kind of guy that you're like, I could really meet him. Okay? That's why I love it. So, next one on the list, Easy by Tamara Weber. This one's got a little bit more of a deep, kind of dark underbelly to it, because the characters, I mean, you open up with an attempted rape. I'm just going to give you a forewarning right there. If you want to read this, it opens up with Jacqueline is our main girl in the story, and she is outside of a frat house, and one of the frat guys comes out, and it's a Halloween party. I think they're in costumes. I think it's a Halloween party, and he tries to rape her over the seat of her truck. Now, like I said, that's serious, and it's like, whew. But our dude from our book, Lucas, saves her. Like I said, don't want to give too much away if you do decide to read it, but I need to give you enough to hook you in. Like I said, it seems harsh. Like, you're like, why do I want to read a book about attempted rape? But, you know, it's really good about pointing out, and he, you know, Lucas is like the super woke guy that like, he, you know, identifies with her and understands that like that's a very traumatizing event for her, and he repeatedly tells her it's not her fault. And it's like, you know, and you find out later, and I'm not going to give anything away because it's a big point of the story, but that there's things that happen to him as a kid that inform that portion of how he is, and it's heartbreaking, like to know his backstory. It's like, oh my god, I burst out some tears reading his backstory in this book. But like, you know, there's a lot of you know, once they, you know, kind of have their moments or whatever, will they, won't they, she doesn't understand why sometimes he's standoffish. And like I said, you find out later on what happened with him. There's some misidentification kind of thing, like some, oh, I thought it was this person, but it ends up being somebody else, and you're like, oh, sneaky. Don't want to give anything away. You need to rate it. But like I said, I mean, it comes down to damaged people finding that they can accept each other and embrace each other's damage and grow together, and, you know, try to go from there. So I think that's really beautiful. And like I said, I've read it multiple times. There's parts where you have to like kind of skim fast because you're like, oof, that's painful to reread. But there's the parts that are worth rereading the whole book. Trust me. Okay, next on the list, Hush Hush by Becca Fitzpatrick. Okay, you got Patch and you got Nora. And at first you're like, Patch, are you a freaking stalker, dude? Like, are you a super creep? Are you a demon? Like, what are you? Are you evil? And spoiler alert, he's not evil. Although he is sent with some motives, and he decides that those aren't necessarily what he wants. This is, you know, a situation. This is a supernatural book. I haven't listed any supernatural books yet, but this one is a fallen angels, Nephilim kind of storyline. Nora's best friend V is like a curvy, sassy girl, and she don't take no shit, and I like it. And then there's, you know, some sneaky people, and you're like, you've got to be suspicious of everybody, okay? But once it gets to the nitty gritty, and, you know, she gets beyond being creeped out by Patch and gets beyond the, is he evil, is he after me, whatever, and you get to, you know, and it's not so much in the first book, it, you know, gets into the later books. It's a trilogy, but when they get together, and obviously you got to get to the first one to get to the other ones, although this book's worth it, trust me. I mean, the final climactic scene, and you're like, what? You know, and you figure out who was behind everything the whole time. Once you get to that, you're like, yeah, you know, them together, it's really, when you get beyond his creepy kind of exterior, and some people would say that he's kind of got like a stalker vibe, and you know, but then again, like with the 50 Shades of Grey thing, I mean, Christian stalked her on the cell phone thing with his cell phone towers to find which bar she was at and stuff like that. So there's some things that like these dudes in these books do that, you know, maybe necessarily seem creepy, but if you look at him from the romantic's perspective, he's trying to protect her. So I mean, trust me, Hush Hush is where it's at. Patch and Nora. Okay, final book on the list. Now this one, I would say with the other ones on the list, they were more, you know, you got your Gabriels Inferno and your Beautiful Disaster, Walking Disaster, are more slightly risque, you know, could be young adult, but more leaning towards adult fiction. And then Easy with the subject matter is more, you know, kind of in between, you know, and then Hush Hush is, you know, like your Twilight type age, you know, young adult. This one is a little bit, I would say, a little bit younger. I mean, it's a shorter book, but this one is called Existence, and it's by Abby Glines, and it's pagan and dank, or death. The whole deal is death is essentially, I mean, pagan can see spirits and all this stuff, and you know there's something different about her, and you have to figure out what's going on, and then he's death, and he's sent to obviously collect souls and stuff like that, and he falls in love with her, and then he becomes Dank Walker as like the biggest rock star in the world when he's in the human world, and you know, ends up going to the school. And then there's another guy, Leif, or how the hell you want to pronounce it, Leif, who you come to find out isn't who he says he is, and you know, of whose soul is promised to who in the afterlife. And it's a story about destiny and soulmates, and when your soul is created, another soul is created, and the idea is that they find each other in life, but you know, he's death, so he doesn't have a soulmate, but he wants Pagan to be his soulmate, so it's this whole, and I ate up every word. Obviously, you know, Dank, aka Death, is a bad boy, and I got a thing for bad boys. But, you know, deep down, you know, he loves Pagan. But, I mean, it's weird. I mean, she's a weird chick from the get-go, that she sees souls and sees spirits or whatever, so I mean, just saying that Death's in love with you is not that far-fetched to think, but like I said, it's good stuff. Like I said, it's a little bit more younger age reading. Like I said, there's not a whole lot of risque stuff that happens other than the idea of spirits and souls and death and the underworld and things like that, and like reapers that take souls. Like I said, there's not really, I don't think I remember if any sexual activity whatsoever. I mean, maybe some kissing. I think that's about it. And the same with Hush Hush before. Very limited groping, maybe. Is nothing like the ones before that. But yes, Existence is really good. It's also a trilogy. You got Existence, what is it? Ascendance or something like that. And then Ceaseless, I believe, or I don't know. Anyway, it's a trilogy. Abby Glines, but definitely good stuff. Okay, so this has been my list of, well, 6 if you count the alternate perspective, but 5 books that I am obsessed with. I've been obsessed with since I bought them. I've reread them multiple times, but they please need to be made into movies or TV shows, with the exception of Gabriel, who's already getting made. But this has been The Dork Mother. Please like and subscribe, and thanks for visiting my channel. Bye!